Hey everyone, welcome to World Mythology. My name is Lauren Teague. I'm going to be your instructor for this semester. I'm excited to kick off this term with this particular video. I'm going to review for you a couple of important notes about the course. I'm going to go into detail outlining our syllabus, which is extremely important, obviously, particularly in terms of understanding how this class is going to be conducted online. I'll go over the texts that are required for this class and just sort of introduce you briefly to the sort of goals, the departmental goals, and our personal goals for this class so that you all have a really clear idea and understanding of how we are going to be moving forward this semester. Okay, so firstly, I'm Lauren. You can call me Lauren. I've been teaching at Rutgers for, oh my God, like I think 10 years now. I've taught this course before online. I've taught it on campus. I'm also teaching XBAs this semester. Oh my God, I know. Ew, gross. Guilty. Okay, I'm teaching XBAs on College Ave campus this semester as well. So what I really want to do to kick off is to outline for you and really review in more detail the syllabus, just so that you all have a very specific understanding of the course. And it will become a lot clearer sort of as we progress and move along. I think after the first like week or two, students tend to kind of like realize the kind of pace of the course and how things are going to kind of run, and then it becomes pretty smooth sailing after that. Okay, so firstly, since I am on campus this semester, I am going to offer sort of like live office hours on Mondays from 11:30 to 12:30 on College Ave campus. I will be at Panera Bread, hanging out, drinking coffee. If you would like to meet, if you are on campus yourself, and I know some of you are not, and that is fine, but for those of you who are on campus or have access to campus and want to meet in person to discuss anything about the course, your work, your writing, essays, any questions that you want to address in person, you can find me on campus on Mondays. If you are off campus, and I know some of you are, hence why you're taking an online course, do not despair. I am also available via Skype or FaceTime. And of course, at any point in the semester, you can email me specific questions. I try to be prompt with my responses. So I do try to make myself as available as possible to students. And also, even though this is an online class, I will maybe once or twice during the semester, and typically before our midterm and final papers, I do also tend to offer scheduled times to meet in person to go over your essays, what you're thinking of writing about, to make sure you're on track. So more about that as we get closer to the papers, but I do try to sort of make myself available on campus as well for those of you who have that kind of access. Okay, so I've given you just some of my information, my email address. This course, though I'd love to think that you're all taking it because you're just deep admirers of mythology, and maybe you are, and that's awesome. This does satisfy one of the SAS core curriculum requirements in the arts and humanities. This is the one that states that students will be asked to analyze arts and literatures in and of themselves, and then also in relation to the specific histories, values, technologies, cultures, languages of those particular literatures. So this does satisfy that particular requirement. Hooray. The course objective. Our goals for the semester are really going to be to first, and we will start this in the latter half of this week, it's going to be to really kind of think through what is a myth? what are the functions of myths historically and even in contemporary times? What are the current use values of myths? Myth, in and of itself, comes from the Greek word mythos, which means story. Why have humans always been storytellers? What do these stories serve for us? In some ways, myths serve to ground us more in our own realities, give our lives meaning and purpose. Um, some myths enable us to explain phenomena that is beyond human, traditional human comprehension of certain experiences, even such as death, for example. Some myths are about reinforcing rituals that bind communities, that bind families, that bind cultures. Some myths are to sort of ease and explain some of the existential crises that humans sort of come up with. We are meaning-seeking creatures, and so it myths and these stories that we tell and have told that get circulated from one generation to the next, that gets circulated amidst multiple cultures, all of which that sort of have certain resonances with each other, despite the variances in these myths, depending on a certain history, culture, language, etc. They tend to resonate with one another because they're all sort of functioning in similar ways, which is to explain the inexplicable, and again, to sort of give meaning to the human experience. Even though a lot of myths deal with gods and divinity, and myths can be sort of related to theology or religion, myths in and of themselves are really about the human experience. And so we will kind of expand our knowledge of that human experience by looking at different tales, different stories from a variety of cultures. We are going to be reading across genres, which is also really critical for a comparative literature curriculum. We're going to be reading some religious doctrines. We're going to be reading fiction. We're going to be reading poetry. We're going to be reading plays. And so we are going to be looking at different types of texts and the ways in which we can put those texts, despite the variances in genre, into conversation with one another and see how they sort of resonate with one another and see what distinctions actually we can make from one another, and why that too is sort of valuable in terms of understanding the function and purpose of myths. So that's sort of our course objective, okay? And our goals are going to be, like I said, to really think about looking at mythology from a comparative stance, and thinking about the ways in which cultures have produced these myths in order to sort of allow for a coherence amidst each individual culture, and how, even with the coherence of one culture, how it actually can sort of resonate with another's. So we're going to be looking at that, and we're also really going to be, and one of my primary goals in this course is going to be helping you all develop a more critical eye, to develop you as critical readers of texts, critical thinkers, and ultimately then critical writers. So that too is going to be, even though this is not a writing course, this is not an expos class, thank God, right? But writing is going to be really, really fundamental to succeeding in this course. And the critical reading, the critical thinking, and the critical writing all go hand in hand. So we're going to practice a lot in different formalities. We're going to practice thinking, taking apart texts, considering texts and how they resonate or deviate from one another, and then working on our critical writing skills, okay? And we will be practicing that throughout the course of the semester. So if you're feeling kind of nervous about that right now, rest assured that there will be plenty of opportunities, exercises, resources to help prepare you for these writing tasks. Okay, So let's look at the core requirements for this class. This is when you should wake up. You're like, here we go. This is what I'm going to need to do this semester. Okay. Number one is going to be regular participation. I don't get to see your smiling faces twice a week, but participation in this course on a regular basis is absolutely mandatory. I'm going to go into how I'm going to be keeping attendance and what that actually means in a minute. But regular participation in all of our discussion forums, submitting all of your work on time is fundamental to succeeding in this course. That is worth 25% of your grade, which is a sizable amount. You're going to be writing one midterm paper, 3 to 5 pages. You will be asked to look at 2, no more than 3 texts in relationship to one another from a critical standpoint. That is going to be worth 25% of your grade. You will have a final essay that is going to be a little bit longer, 5 to 7 pages. We'll also ask you to look at 2 to 3 texts in relationship to one another. That is worth 25% of your grade. So the papers combined are worth 50% of your grade. Then you will have 3 short writing assignments. These assignments, I'll go into detail about, sort of the goals for that assignment as we get closer. I will announce them in advance. You will have at least a week's worth of a heads up that we're going to be doing them. I usually schedule them for a weekend to be mindful of people's work schedules. You will have between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on the day that those short writing assignments are due to actually do the assignment and submit it. It should take you about 30 to 40 minutes. Again, I will go into more detail about this as I need to when we're getting close to the first actual short writing assignment. But this is sort of an in-between our discussion forum posts, which is a little bit more informal, and your formal papers, your midterm, your final. It's kind of an in-between ground to, again, help you practice developing your critical reading, critical writing, critical thinking skills. And then, really fun, you're going to do one creative assignment, which is going to be to write your own creation and destruction myths after we read a sampling of different creation destruction myths from a multitude of different cultures. So, and that's worth 10% of your grade. So those are the course requirements. Review those in detail on the syllabus. Next up are your required texts. First up is Margaret Atwood's The Penelopiad. Here it is. I've given you links to where you can purchase them, if you want to rent them, if you want to borrow them. Like, I don't care how you procure them. But this is one of our required texts. We will be reading the whole thing, so you will need it. Next on the list is Rita Dove's Mother Love, which is a poetic sequence reimagining Demeter and Persephone. Super cool. I've also provided a link on our course website under modules for this particular week of an online source that does give you access to not the entire book, but a lot of the poems in this collection. So be mindful of that. We are going to be reading Bacchae by Euripides. There's a lot of different editions. If you can get this particular one, it has a scholarly introduction by Paul Woodruff. It would be, and look at like a young Elvis, hello. This would be the one to get because we are going to be reading some of the introductory materials in this text. So it is really valuable to get this particular edition. Again, I've given you a link to it. In terms of like more of an anthology, we're going to be doing this world mythology. I have the second edition. It's probably then would be sort of cheaper. You can rent this. The editor is Donna Rosenberg. It's just a good anthology. There's lots of goodies in here. There's lots of good historical, cultural introductions to a lot of these texts that we're going to be reading, so it's valuable. I do have another text on there that is also an anthology. I used to require it. I'm not requiring it now. It's this monster here. I'm going to provide PDFs of what we're going to be reading from this particular text. So you don't have to actually buy that one. I do have it on there because I've used it in the past. It is really interesting, but I don't want you to have to spend anything more than you already have to. So I will be providing PDFs. If you see a text from Introduction to Mythology, you're just going to look under the modules tab for that week, and I should have a PDF there for you. I haven't done them all yet, but I will. Okay, let's talk about the structure of the class. Under modules, I've basically outlined week by week all of the lessons that we're going to be doing. Under each module, you will find important information, including lecture notes, including sometimes a supplemental video lecture that I've done, including multimedia links to different resources that I provided for you from YouTube or other periodicals, etc., that are valuable and useful in terms of enhancing our understanding of the text that we're reading. So everything is sort of organized under each week and each module. So it should be fairly clear how to access all of the materials that you need to. If you see on our syllabus that something is coming from world mythology, you will not find it under modules. You will find it in the actual text. Or if we are reading any one of the other texts that are required that I just reviewed, then I've noted that and you'll be using the text themselves. Okay, so class discussions. This is essential to this class functioning well. What I'm going to do in terms of class discussions is I'm going to be posting two discussions per week, basically. And this is how it breaks down. On Monday morning, by or before 9 a.m., I will post a series of discussion questions, okay, for the set of readings. Each week is broken down into two halves. All right, the first half the discussion will run from 9 a.m. on Monday to 9 p.m. on Wednesday evening. The second set of readings we'll do a discussion for, that will run from 9 a.m. on Thursday morning till 9 p.m. on Sunday evening. So we will have two discussion forums per week for each set of readings that I've outlined under your syllabus, okay? What you're required to do in terms of the discussion is post, you hear my crazy dog? She's crazy. You're required to post an initial response to one or two of my discussion questions. You do not need to answer all of them. You can choose one to focus on. You can choose two to focus on. That's up to you. You're going to post a response of 200 to 300 words in answering that question. The goal is not to be summarizing the text. We're just going to assume that everyone's done the reading. So the goal is not to summarize the text. The goal is actually to answer the question and do some critical reading and some critical thinking about the text and then respond. I'm hoping that you will cite, draw from the text so that you can quote in order to help support your ideas a little bit more clearly. That's good practice too as we prepare essentially for our short writing assignments and then our midterm and our final. So you're going to have an initial response of 200 to 300 words. You're going to have a secondary response that is also required in which you engage one of your classmates' responses. That can be shorter. That can be like 100 to 200 words. But that's like, hey, I really was interested in Amy's point on the Bacchae when she says, ba, 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 ba. I didn't see it that way. I read it like da, 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 da. But her view made me think of da, 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 da. Okay, something like that. What this will do is it will create sort of a discussion thread, much like, although not as organic, it will create a discussion thread like we would have a discussion in a live classroom where people can contribute their ideas and also respond to the ideas of your fellow classmates. So that's the goal of the class discussion, the discussions. Those will take place under the discussions tab on Canvas. Okay, so you're going to go there at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. You will see discussion questions for our first set of readings. And then on Thursday morning, you will see discussion questions for our second set of readings. Here's what's really important. At 9 p.m. on Wednesday evening and on Sunday evenings, when those two discussions close, I'm going to lock the forum. That means that you will not be able to actually post anything after 9 p.m. If you don't, you will be deemed absent for that particular discussion forum. So that is sort of how I'm keeping like attendance, if you will, for the semester, is your active and consistent participation in these weekly, bi-weekly discussion forums. Okay, so keep that in mind. 9 p.m. on Wednesday evening, 9 p.m. on Sunday evening, the forums get locked and you will not be able to post. You will still be able to read you'll have read-only access. You won't be able to post anymore, and you will lose any kind of credit. You'll be deemed basically absent for that particular week. Okay, or that particular discussion. Okay. Um, Again, a little bit more about the writing exercises. We're going to do those 3 times throughout the course of the semester. They will be posted under the assignments tab. I will give you about a week's worth of warning. Hey, we're going to have a short writing assignment on the Odyssey and maybe one other text. I will post a question at 9 a.m. on the day that we are going to be doing them, and I will leave it open until 9 p.m. on that day, and you will, at any convenient time, log in, go to assignments, answer the question in a sort of short essay format. I will give you more specific instructions on what I want from you, and submit it. It should be about 30 to 40 minutes of active writing, and you can use your texts because you're going to be citing from them, so that's important. Okay, and then the creative assignment, I'm going to post soon, actually, like this week under the assignments tab. I'll be posting instructions for the creative assignment. Again, we're going to be starting the semester by thinking through what constitutes myths and what their purpose and use values are, and then we move into looking at various creation myths, looking at various destruction myths, and then you will have an opportunity to write your own. And these are creative assignments, so really there's no right or wrong, and it is about using your imagination, drawing some inspiration from the text that we have read. I've had students write about like Beyonce being their goddess. Like I've had all sorts of interesting, funny myths, and sky's the limit. So there will be like some instructions, but you are free to sort of run wild with this assignment. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our formal essays as we move closer to those due dates. I'll be posting basically a couple of prompts for you, about 3 to 4 prompts, all of which ask you to put some of the text that we've already read in particular context with one another, highlighting certain themes that I want you to look at. If you want to write on something that I don't cover, I don't provide the prompt for it, you can sort of write your own question and be in touch with me in advance of the due date, and I'm happy for you to write on something that you're more interested in. You'll always write better, more persuasive essays if you are committed and interested. So that is an option. It just has to be discussed with me in advance of the due date. Okay? Okay. I've given you a basic grading rubric for how grades via the university are constructed. In terms of attendance and the discussion forum posts, you are allowed to miss 3 discussions. That's not 3 weeks worth of discussions. That's 3 particular discussions throughout the course of the semester. This is like having 3 absences in class during the semester without penalization. So you get to miss 3 discussion forums, no penalization. However, if you go beyond that, for every discussion that you miss, I will take 1 point off of your final grade for every discussion that you miss. This is why I say it's really important that you participate and that you are a regular participant. I will be checking in with you once or twice during the semester just to give you a little bit of feedback in terms of the quality of your discussion forum posts so that you can have some notes from me and adjust accordingly in order to maximize that grade. You can also email me at any point in the semester, especially early on if you're not quite sure if you're doing the right thing or if this is sort of what I'm looking for. You can always touch base with me. For our first discussion forum, I have actually posted like a sample response just to give you a guide in terms of the type of length and the type of critical engagement that I'm sort of looking for in terms of this particular discussion forum assignment. Okay, here are some general policies. I typically do not accept late assignments. If there is an issue that you anticipate having in terms of submitting your work at any point, just be in touch with me in advance and I'm happy to work with you. But, you know, oopsies, forgot to submit this or just had other work to do, you know, you'll have plenty of time and plenty of a heads up to plan accordingly to submit your work on time, okay? But if you anticipate having an issue with any of the due dates, then just be in touch with me in advance. Again, you can miss 3 discussion posts without penalization, and then for every discussion post you missed, 1 point is being taken off of your final grade. For citations, we are using MLA style. Under the module for our first writing week, which is the week before your midterm papers are due, I've given you a couple of resources. In that module, I've posted the MLA citation guide from Rutgers. I've posted a link to the OWL Purdue University citation guide, which is really great for MLA. I've posted some sample midterms that I've received from previous students to give you a sort of sense of like, you know, sort of well-graded essays, just so you have specific models. And there's just other specific, you know, sort of cosmetic issues for submitting papers, 1-inch margins, Times New Roman, 12-point font. Like, let's not do anything crazy. And then I've given you just some links at the end to various resources on campus, the Writing Center, the Health Center, various deans, if you are struggling at any point in the semester. And this can happen with online classes. You know, I'm not seeing you, you're not seeing me, you kind of just, you know, get off track a little bit and sort of fade into the distance. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Don't put your head in the sand and be like, it's going to go away, it'll be fine. Usually it won't. The way to make it fine is to be in touch as soon as you can and just say like, hey, I've fallen off track, I'm struggling, I need some help, how can I get back on track? And we can talk through how to help you get back on track, okay? So please, again, be in touch, and if you do need any guidance to specific resources on campus, please feel free to be in touch. I'm happy to direct you to the appropriate place. Last thing on I'm tired. Academic integrity. Don't plagiarize. All your work is going to be submitted online. It's submitted through Turnitin, which will actually scan your work for any sort of overlaps with any other texts online, and will give me a kind of like percentage of how much overlap there actually is. I feel like in this day and age, with so much availability and access to information, people unintentionally plagiarize all the time, and it's a problem because we can't do that. So if it's an idea that you're borrowing from a different source, or if it's actual chunks of text that you are borrowing from another source, you have to cite appropriately. If you don't, there are consequences, and you don't want to deal with those consequences. I don't want to deal with those consequences either. So be mindful of that. There is a link to the specific policy for academic integrity that Rutgers provides. If you have any confusion on what constitutes plagiarism, please be in touch with me, and I will be happy to help you, happy to help clarify anything. Okay, so again, I just want to show you the schedule quickly. You'll see for every week, I don't know if you can see with this light, but for every week on the top, we'll list the first set of readings, and on the bottom, we'll list the second set of readings. So this top part will be from, that will run from like Monday to Wednesday. The bottom will be from Thursday to Sunday, just so you know how that's working. Okay, what do you need to do right now? Right now, you need to go click on the syllabus link and read through the syllabus so that you can digest everything I just said. Also, you're going to go to the discussions link and introduce yourself to the class. I've started the process. Introduce yourself, your year, if you are on campus, great, why you're taking this course, if you have a major, what your favorite ice cream flavor is. Extremely important information. So we'll start the process of getting a thread going and start the process of seeing how our more formal discussions will start. And then our actual first discussion forum will begin on Thursday morning. It will run from Thursday to Sunday. And the readings are posted on that first week of your syllabus. So onward, looking forward to working with all of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to be in touch. Okay, here we go. Bye.